start the meeting out with is introductions, because there's some new friends from the Warrant and Finance Committee that I just met tonight, and you may not know who all we are. Some of the administrators that were in and out tonight will come if it's their cost center. Tonight it's Andy's cost center primarily, so he'll be with us this evening in case you have any particular questions about that area of the budget. But if it's okay, maybe we start with Dennis and go right around the room, and we'll end with me, with who we are, and then we'll know each other's names.
Dennis Long.
Joyce Bakshi.
Ramiro Lopez.
Margarita Borgo.
Andy Brazier, Facility Director.
Kim Oliver, Finance Director.
Joe Rubunda.
I'm CJ Gardner. This is my first, finishing up my first full year on the school committee. I have a second grader and a pre-K student.
Amanda Cobb, my son has gone through the whole system already, and I don't know how many years I've been on the school committee.
I don't know because
Mary Stan, School Committee. Jeanette Rose, School Committee. And Vice Chair.
What was your name?
Jeanette.
Jeanette.
One N. Everybody wants to spell it with two N's. Okay, one N.
Judy Shane, School Committee.
And I'm John Ross. I'm the superintendent principal. So welcome. This is good that we're together for our first night. It usually takes us several meetings to go through the entire budget. We literally do go line by line. And Dennis is passing around a blue sheet that's going this way, Joe. You're next in line. And these are just some statements we came up with about 6 years ago in terms of, we just kind of revisit these at the beginning of each one of our budget meetings to remind us on kind of how we'll be throughout the process. So I'll just go over these with you really quickly. And you can keep these right in your packets. These packets that Kim gave you are for you to keep, and bring them to each one of our meetings, please. So our 6 strive statements for the FY23 school budget are: we will strive to work together as a community that values the education of our children that our children receive at AES. We'll strive to be fully present at the meetings by becoming familiar with materials and by being attentive. We'll strive to invite and welcome the contributions of every member and listen to each other. We'll strive to be involved to our individual level of comfort. Each of us is responsible for airing concerns during the meeting rather than carrying those concerns outside the meeting. We'll strive to operate in a collegial, professional, and friendly atmosphere, and we'll strive to be responsible for examining all points of view. So with that, we will be putting together a budget by articles, and tonight we're going to look at Article 10 and Article 2. And I'll just say that if the Warrant and Finance Committee has a question, or the school committee has a question, we might be able to answer it tonight, but if we don't, we'll bring that answer back to the next meeting. That sometimes happens. We have to throw some things in the parking lot. And the process is, Kim and I have worked with each cost center, whether it be the teachers or Andy, have pared those budget requests down to something that's passed muster with Kim and I. Now we're turning it over to the school committee. It's their budget to go through, make recommendations, add, delete, anything that needs to happen. And at the end of the process, the school committee will be taking a vote to authorize the FY23 budget, and then on that same evening, it would be great if the Warrant and Finance Committee could then do their review of the same budget, which you're sitting through right now. And hopefully we will answer any questions, so that wouldn't be a very long meeting for you. And we can do that in one evening, and then our goal is to get it out to the public for a public vote in April. So that's kind of the process so far. Tonight, Kim and I have done our work, and we're here to present that to you. The way the budget is set up, and I'll go through this rather slowly the first time through, but you'll see it works out pretty nicely. If you open up your budget book to Article 10, it's called Repairs and Maintenance. You'll see an area like it works left to right. So salaries of our regular employees in Article 10, and that would be in custodial services and support. You'll see the actual from 2 years ago, what this year's budget is and what we're proposing, and then the difference is up or down. If it's down, if it's less, it's in parentheses. Otherwise, it's going to be up, okay? So a positive number is just the number, and a negative number will have parentheses on it. And then as far over to the right, you'll see the notations that give some sort of representation or some sort of explanation as to what's going on with that cost center, okay? So I'll just take it, as you can see on the first page, there's a half dozen, a few more. The first one is salaries of the regular employees, and what I like to do is take a look at last year, what the budget was last year, what's proposed this year, and the difference. So we're looking at roughly 165.4. Proposed is 183.9. There's a difference of, we're up 16,421. And then the notations on the sides, the salaries and wages for all the custodial staff.
Well, I'd like to make a note that the negotiations, we probably have a placeholder in there because we haven't finished negotiations on the contracts. That would start August 1st? No,
Correct.
Yeah,
technically.
This summer.
August 1st, yeah.
So this is estimated,
correct.
Yeah.
obviously.
Well, hopefully, no, more.
We're moving along pretty good. There are two bargaining units that are collective in this school district. It is the Teachers Union, or the Teachers Association, and the Support Staffs Association. Both of those are up for a 3-year review and a 3-year collective bargaining process. We're right in almost the middle of that right now, but we're also in the middle of building a budget. So we have to put some things in here,
Yeah, put estimate.
and we got a couple of months to make changes if we need to. Yeah, so that's a good comment, Mary, thank you. Under the next one, it's salaries to pay to substitutes. Yes, we have substitute and spare custodial workers in case if anybody's out. Our budget for last year, $6,500. Our proposed is $5,000, so a decrease of $1,500. And that's for substitutes covering all custodial staff. And then because they're hourly, we have overtime wages, which was $2,000 last year, $3,000 proposed for this year, or up $1,000. And that's overtime paid to cover for snow removal, emergency repairs, and weekend work. And I mentioned earlier with Andy's snow removal, a lot of it has been weekend nights and weekend days so we can open on Monday. It's just how the storms have hit this year. Then we have some stipends line item. Last year was $3,600, raised to $4,800, or a difference of $1,200. This is the vehicle stipend paid to the director for the use of his truck. Andy has his own vehicle, and instead of him charging us mileage for every time he has to go to the store or do something, or use his truck and drop his plow to do a lot, Andy's had a truck stipend for as long as I've been here. And there's just a little bit of an increase going into this next year for given the costs of running that truck. Stipends benefits. This is the benefits paid on stipends. It was $426 because of the increase. It's $500 or $74. So Kim, I want to get into this next one with you. Employees' benefits for regular employees. When you folks see this line, there's going to be some language that's all the way over to the right, which includes FICA, state unemployment, tax, workers' comp, long-term disability, and retirement benefits. Those are all numbers that Kim, as the finance director, puts into our budget. We don't control any of that. This would be a great opportunity for our new friends for you to make any comments you want. Are they up or down? Are they different? We've had years before where something in SUTA changed and it looked remarkable in our budget, and I don't see that it's remarkable in this one.
No, the only thing that has actually gone down is our state unemployment tax, because we go through Maine Municipal instead of like state of Maine, and they basically, because we have not had any claims for quite a long time, we've met their cap, and so next year I think I'm going to end up, the cost is going to be so like $8 for
Over the
each
whole budget?
employee.
Okay, over each employee. Okay.
Versus what we paid $148 for each employee this year. So
it's down.
it's a big difference there. Everything else, so I mean, MEPers, which is the main employer's retirement system, that rate won't change from last year to this year. And there are retirement benefits are in negotiations, so I just have placeholders for that one.
Okay.
And our workers' comp has gone down actually a little tiny bit, so.
Good.
Again, based on our, again, it's through Maine Municipal, and it's based on our experience mod and stuff like that, and we've done really well, so we got a little bit of a decrease from our rates from last year. I mean, I'm talking like 0.00. No, but it's still a little bit. I'll take every little bit.
Excellent overview. Thank you, Kim. I wanted to mention that on this one and the next few, because wherever you see an employee on a page, which is about every page of our documents, you'll see this language, and the percent changes are the same across the board. It just depends on what the number and the amount is. For instance, we have way more teachers than we have custodians, so your number is just going to be larger. But the percentage of change per unit is the same all the way across the board. So the next one would be medical insurance for custodial staff. Kim, I guess it would be a good time just to mention, what are we projecting for increase, decrease of our insurance medical?
Our medical is, our premiums are way higher than what our expenditures are, and the way the Anthem works, that would probably equate to less than 1% of an increase over our
Excellent.
medical insurance for this upcoming year.
That's great. We're a pretty healthy group, so is the size of our group with 50 some odd employees, 53 employees, and some have family and some have single. Overall, the health of our organization has been pretty good, so we're going to realize that in a benefit to having a less of an increase. And then finally, Kim, the last one is the Social Security Medicare contributions to substitutes. Any remarks on that?
That's just straight FICA.
Straight up. Yeah.
0.0765 and Medicare, that's it, that's all it is.
Okay. And you'll see those, that's a pretty redundant piece in our budget. You'll see those moving forward. Building technical services, in the last budget was $11,000. This year it's $7,000, or down $4,000. Repairs and maintenance of the fields, irrigation system, pest control, plowing, and anything outside of the building.
Is that down because we did quite a bit more this past year, this current year?
Andy?
We move stuff.
Yeah, we actually had to move some of this stuff around.
From what was being expensed in this one, we've had some changes as far as like Johnson and Jordan for our preventive maintenance and that type of stuff, which, because of the new boiler, we're not preventive maintenance on the old boiler.
Right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't
So you can
be-
move it, yeah.
It's not
So that's
as
good.
high,
Yeah.
so.
We actually had two separate preventative maintenance contracts.
Yeah.
One was for a lot of the mechanical stuff, which we still currently use. The other one was for preventative maintenance on our old control system. So when we installed the new control system, it's brand new software. There's really nothing,
To adjust.
they don't have to come in and do like an annual inspection. They don't log in remotely
Yeah.
and make changes. I manage all of that software in-house, so.
Very nice.
I think this would be a good opportunity for me to share with everyone, and I think the school committee knows this and appreciates this, through some of our what's called Esser grant funding from the federal government. In the early days of it, in the first round and the second round, it was earmarked for ventilation, heating, air control because of COVID response and keeping a healthy building for children and staff. We have about $330,000 worth of upgrades in this building that were paid for by the federal government that go unseen. They're behind the walls and in the building that, if you think about it, over the next 15 years, we won't have to go to the town for those. So that's not in the budget, is what I wanted to mention. So it's there, it's in our building, and it was from the federal government. Security services. Security services from last year, 3,000, this year, 3,000 looking forward, and that's flat. And that's the expenses for the fire and security protection with Protection 1 and ADT. Same with water and sewer services, $4,500 in the operating budget, projected $4,500 for next year's operating budget, and that's water testing required by the state and septic and maintenance. Andy, just curious, the water guy's in here a lot. I call him the water guy because he is a guy this time around. Is that just regular? It's funny, I happened to hit it just right to let him in the building. Is
Right.
that monthly now, or is that?
We go quarterly. It's every
Quarterly.
3 months.
Okay.
And there is annual testing too that the state requires that
Okay.
we have to send in.
I am now under a line item called repair and maintenance services, which is the back of the first page. And I could go back, oh, there we go. The budget was, for last year was 96,073. This coming year, it's 55,000, or a reduction of $41,000. And repairs and maintenance and supplies and equipment to building, gym floor, that's something we do. We usually replace carpet every year, regular painting and trash disposal. But this number's big enough, Kim, that you and I talked about this. This would be a good one to explain because of
So
how we did it and how we had to move it.
Right.
Okay.
So basically with this furnace, it broke. And it became big repair and maintenance. we use the reserves that we have for capital reserve for repair and fixing. We moved that, or the school committee moved that over into our repairs and maintenance line, so I could pay Johnson and Jordan for the new furnace. So this line, when it went up to 91, it was only at 55. But that difference is what we pulled. We emptied out the reserve, which didn't quite complete the cost of the furnace, so we use our regular operating to pick up the difference. But, so that number just, it looks funny because it's that furnace that, the only way that we could get it in there was because it broke and it's in a repair. When we look at a new one though, because it's still, what'll happen is it'll go in as a repair, this is how it was moved in there. The auditors will take it out as an asset and depreciate it because it's got a life of a lot longer than 1 year. And then it'll become an equipment, a fixed asset in the equipment line. If we look to budget a new one, you'll see that under an equipment line, not under repair maintenance.
Any questions about that? Good explanation, Kim. Okay, sometimes those things show up in budgets. Property insurance was $14,000, is looking at $15,000 or an increase of $1,000 for our property insurance with Maine School Management Association. Our advertising is at $120. It's been at $120 for a long time, and it's flat at $120.
What are advertising for what?
So we might have RFPs.
An RFP
So if we
request.
have, like a new piece of equipment and it's over, actually the feds are saying anything over $10,000 that has to, like if a pump or something like that was like, if Andy said later on, we've got to get a new pump, it's got to do this, you have to go out and bid. So you have to advertise those RFPs. And sometimes, by the time you go to 3 or 4 different places, it adds up.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, we get 3 bids for anything over a certain dollar amount.
Like the parking lot would be another good example.
yeah, the parking
Yeah.
lot's another one.
What is, did you say the feds have a level?
Yeah, the
We have-
IRS is, the minimum requirement is $10,000.
And then
So
you have to go out
You have to go out to bid, yeah.
to bid. At
Anything
$10,000.
over $10,000, you have to, it's like when we did all the ventilation and all that stuff, that all went out to bid because that was way over $10,000.
It's just like when we put out our transportation contracts, a big one, There's only so many transportation companies in southern Maine that can have buses and can move kids. So you put it out there and somebody from Alaska is probably not going to bid on it. And you wait and you see. And for some things, there's a lot of people that will bid on them. And other items, they're pretty unique to putting in boilers and things like that have the capacity to do the work you saw tonight.
But you still just have to
We
put it out
still
there.
have to, even if we know there's only one person in the world that
Yep.
does this, right?
Yep.
It's going out to bid.
You
Yes,
have to go out.
you
Yeah,
did,
that's
you followed
exactly
the
right.
rules, you
Yep.
put it out to bid.
That's exactly right. Yep. So there's your advertising. Travel at $100, remains $100. Travel expenses for employees stays flat. General supplies, was it $30,000? Stays at $30,000. It stays flat. Custodial and maintenance supplies, including paper, cleaning, hardware, ice melt, bark, mulch, lights, bulbs.
One of the comments that came up when Kim and I were looking at these lines, a lot of people are concerned about, inflation, the cost of everything that you go and buy now. If you go and buy groceries, if you go and buy anything in a store, it just seems like it's way more money. So when it came down to looking at the supplies and kind of trying to project what we were looking at for next year, I talked with Cleanorama out of Westbrook, which is one of our largest vendors for custodial supplies. They do all of our cleaning products, all of our paper products. And the fortunate thing for Cleanorama is with COVID hitting, the demand for what they do has gone through the roof. And as a result, their company has grown. They bought another warehouse in Exeter, New Hampshire, and they've hired more people, and their business is growing. So as they've grown, the downside of that is that they're able to keep their prices very competitive. So when I spoke with Keith, I said, are we looking at an increase in cost of supplies in the next year? And he said, absolutely not. He said, we've increased our volume of product, and it's allowing us to save a lot of people money. And they have huge accounts all over New England, so that was one thing that I looked at pretty closely because I was concerned about it.
Before we go any further on the travel, can I use the federal amount of money that is paid travel per mile?
Yes, the
50 cents a
IRS,
mile,
yes,
yeah.
for travel, yeah.
So that $100 will cover that aspect?
We don't,
Go ahead.
basically, it's not for Andy's truck. So we've got
It's
a
for the
couple other
custodians,
custodians.
PD,
And once in a great while, they might
Like
go
it was,
to
right.
Sanford High School to pick up chicken nuggets or peanut butter from Sanford and bring it back to this school. Because we share the same nutrition place.
Or they may have to go to SMCC on a weekend to take a course in safety or something because it's mandatory and they can't get it online. What's interesting in the world of COVID is there's so much more online now. The travel across the board
Yeah.
is really
Minimal.
not, very
Yeah.
minimal, but.
A lot of webinars, which
Yeah.
is nice.
I actually had a question to go along that, with, back on the other page, stipend paid, for the use of his truck. So that's at the IRS rate?
No, that's a monthly, okay, so that's why he has to pay taxes and stuff. So there's a
Right.
difference. If you are reimbursed at the IRS rate of 58 cents, you don't get paid, no taxes come out. You are just
Correct.
reimbursed for the flat amount.
Right.
Andy's in a different boat. It's an agreed contracted amount that says you're going to get X amount of dollars every month for the use of truck, doesn't matter how many miles. Because it's a lot more convenient and actually probably
Much easier to do that way.
Yeah,
It's a
a
lot
lot
easier.
easier.
No,
We'd
He
be
can
buying a
travel
truck.
whenever he wants.
Yeah,
right?
no,
The truck is
I
mine.
mean, I
Yeah.
understand that,
Yeah.
but where there were the two places, that's why,
Sure, that's actually a really good point, Joyce.
You
So
know.
the bigger one, or the first one that you point out, is a
Right.
stipend for the maintenance director's truck to do work for the school, and it's just a flat stipended amount.
right.
And then the second one, which is only 100, is where I remarked that, maybe once in a while, one of our 3 custodians might have to go do some PD somewhere, and it might be at the mileage reimbursement rate of, what is it, 55 cents a mile now, Kim?
58.
58, it's gone up, hasn't it?
And the reality is they really don't go anywhere, but we left $100 in the budget for the just in case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because once in a while they do. They might go pick up something in Sanford because some.
Well, maybe there's a class you want to take on, how to keep your boiler running when it's 33 years old or something. Where do I get the chewing gum and duct tape?
Yes.
Okay, I think we are now on heating. And our heating, propane expenses, heating and propane, fuel oil and propane for the building was at $50,000. It's at retracted 55 for an increase of $5,000 for next year.
Is that just to account for increases in cost, I assume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't lock in with
basically-
Sanford
That's a
yet?
lock-in, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically, we contract, we'll work with Sanford and Sanford School and the town of Sanford. And we try to get a price on oil based on the total consumption. And so like our per gallon price right now is like $2.85 or something. So, next year, we probably won't get it at that rate.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we're just kind of speculating it's gonna be a little bit more.
Sure.
Historically, though, we've done really well
Yeah.
buying in with Sanford.
With Sanford.
We get it
Oh,
on a
yeah.
volume purchase, it's
Big
really,
deal.
Yeah, if you just went in as one little school district here,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to think of one.
So then
It'd
this
be
is
bad.
Acton's portion of whatever was negotiated between both schools.
Yeah, so basically what happens is the town of Sanford will have X amount of oil they'll use while they're building, and the school will use X amount, and then we'll use X amount, and they combine that together and they buy that total volume.
Do we know what the percentage is?
Not yet, huh?
For this
Not
year,
yet.
it's $2.85 a gallon.
No, not the price of the oil or the propane, the percentage between Acton and Sanford.
How much
Oh,
do
no,
we
we
use
all get
versus
this.
them? Yeah. We all get the same price.
We all get the same
all get the same
price,
rate.
but I don't know how, I mean, they use a lot more than we do.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, you can't do it small.
We're very small price.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I was asking, do we know what the percentage rate is? Because, I mean, if we use less propane, I don't know if, I mean, it's a combination of buying for both places.
Yeah, we just do the oil, propane, because we just use propane in the building for the garage.
The garage and the kitchen.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is minimal compared, I mean, there's, and Sanford doesn't have that, they just do the oil, so.
Sometimes, being a partner with Sanford, of course, that's where our high school kids go. We have a contract with Sanford, where we share some services, such as a food service director for us. It's such a part-time job here that we just hire their food service director to work for us 10 hours a week, you know, whatever our hours are we have in the budget. Just like with the fuel costs, we pay for our own fuel, but we put it out to bid with such a bigger fish in the pond that our prices are lower.
Right.
So there's some real advantages to being connected to Sanford. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we did heating, so electricity was set at $35,000 in the current. We're looking at $50,000 in the next, or increase of $15,000 moving into the next budget.
Where'd you come up with that?
That's
Because I thought we were
moving
saving
target.
money.
Okay, so,
Yeah,
here we go, there's
that's
a
a big
bunch of
one.
things.
Moving
There's-
target.
You know, it's, I mean, I've been watching the state, I've been looking at, you know, their average increases that they want. And I know we did the package with the solar farm, but that hasn't been connected yet. So eventually we'll have that. I mean, we did sign up with a solar panel for 20 years to get 15% off our bill. But when you know that your bill's gonna go up, maybe up to 43%, depending on who you listen to, you know, and our usage actually, when we put in the new systems, they actually used a little bit more electricity at this point. So we've been kind of adjusting for our usage as well. Our usage has gone up. The ventilators and all that stuff with the controls and everything takes a little bit more. I mean, I'm hoping it'll balance out on the heating side, but until we have enough time to show that,
So there's been no investigation as far as the LED? I know that they use less wattage in LED versus a common,
Fluorescent.
Right, fluorescent. Yeah, we
We
did.
usually, we look for opportunities through Efficiency Main with a lot of our lighting upgrades. Like the parking lot, we were able to get through Efficiency Main incentives. We've done,
So those are LEDs.
Those are
out in the
LEDs,
parking lot.
yeah, we
Yeah.
did a lighting upgrade in the gym quite a few years ago now.
Yeah, this has been a long time.
But we look at it all the time, and we look for opportunities through Efficiency Main. One of the problems that we run into is a lot of times when these programs are available, we don't have the funding to back it. So what we have available in our operating budget, if we have the money available and the incentives are there, we go for it. I've also looked at doing some of the lighting upgrades incrementally. There's portions of the building that we have done some updating, but we have a long way to go.
Many years ago, fact is right after this place was built, we did the same thing with these lights and changed them all to T8s, as you know, Andy, and put reflectors in them. These used to have 4 bulbs in them, and then it went down to 2 with the reflectors in them. And just to give you a little perspective, 30 years ago, our electricity cost in the school was $30,000. And we worked through the Efficiency of Maine, and we took out a loan, and in 3 years, the savings on the electricity paid the loan, and then went way down. And I do know when Andy came here, he's done a lot more upgrades. Like you said, the gym, the outdoor lights, the security lights on the building. I mean, so I guess my point is that Andy has done an awful lot for this. And if 30 years ago we were paying $30,000, we can't control whatever information, whoever is sending down the information about this electricity. But until this year here, we're just about in the same place.
The other thing
30
too
years
is,
later.
the other thing too that we've got coming in the near future is the new unit ventilators in all the classrooms. Those are all, high efficiency motors, the controls, all of it. So will it use less energy? Absolutely. We're just gonna have to get it installed and then monitor our usage and adjust it once the systems are in place.
Our usage will ebb and flow. Yeah.
And they will, with this, one of the Esser grants we have those funds set aside to actually finish that install. So, but we're just waiting for the summer.
Probably have to wait till summer for that.
Yeah.
Because there's so many classrooms, like there's 15 that we're waiting to put in.
Correct, yeah.
That's a lot of classrooms in this building. And lastly, the uses changed too, because for a while, for 3 months in 2020, we were shut down. There was no one really in the building. And then last year, we didn't have any extracurricular. And tonight, if you're sitting on this side, you can see kids coming in and out of the gym. So slowly, we're open again at night, and we're doing things on the weekends that we didn't do last year.
Yeah.
So the building's gonna be heated more and used more, as it should be.
Yes.
As we get back to what, quote, normal times look like. Okay, so the last one is equipment. Equipment at 71,005. Am I reading this correctly? It looks blank. Oh, I see. This is the new one. So this is the furnace.
So this
Right.
is
This is
the
where the furnace shows up. Okay.
Yeah, there's 65 for the furnace and there's 6,500 for
Yeah.
a new floor
Scrubber. Yeah.
Gotcha. Rug scrubber.
Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
a carpet extractor.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to take my carpets out, so can I use it?
Does that mean that when you go to clean the carpet, if you do it wrong, it sucks it right up into the thing and we need new carpet, Andy? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Glue remover?
Just takes all the dirt and grind
Perfect.
stuff out of the rug.
Those are steam, Andy, hot water.
Right.
Is it?
Yeah.
So if you look, this is our first one where we can look at the totals at the bottom. You can look overall, really, where we were last year's the second line over to the left, from the left to the right. What we're proposing, whether it's up or down, it's up, or 12.5% over this article from last year. That's just this one article out of 12 of them. So it's not, it gives you a picture of the maintenance and where we're at, so.
It's almost the price of the furnace replacement.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you, well, yeah, the 63,356
Right.
is your furnace
That's the,
replacement.
yeah,
There you
other
go.
than that, it's
That's
pretty
not
flat.
bad.
Yeah, other than that, you're probably looking at a flat budget on maintenance. Yeah. Okay.
The only thing that I would like to know is, because I haven't heard anything about it for a while, where do we stand with the asbestos in the building?
With the what?
Yes, about asbestos in the building,
Our asbestos, we
Yeah.
are on,
the plan.
the asbestos that is in the building is in the 1957 wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the tile flooring that is underneath carpet, and that's the only asbestos in the building. We had some asbestos probably 5 or 6 years ago now. There was some insulation on a pipe that was in the plan, and we actually budgeted for it, and we got rid of it.
Yeah.
But we have to, it's all registered with the state, we have an asbestos management plan. We do periodic surveillance of the asbestos materials that are in the building. We update the plan every 3 years. Done it since I've been here. It's
No, it's been like that forever, Andy.
Pretty
So at
limited.
some point, that room will be on the list to upgrade and get rid of?
potentially, it's considered encapsulated, so it's not like a
Yeah.
high risk.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
Because
Not
of
a
the
high risk.
carpet over it, it's encapsulated.
Well, down in the 57 building, that's why they put foam underneath the carpeting, so you didn't have to
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have
disturb
to be,
them, but,
you have to be very conscious and very careful of when we do we have a carpet replacement program where we're doing so many classrooms every, year. When you get to those areas and you know that there's asbestos present, you've got to be very careful and make sure that you go through the proper steps with your vendor to make sure that that's all
right.
taken into consideration.
I mean, I know
Yeah.
we removed a lot of it when I was here, the roof, and obviously that pipe was a pipe that was missed because it used to be on all the pipes down there.
Right.
But I guess I didn't know if it was gone, if it wasn't, because I haven't seen any notice It used to be you had to send home a notice every year to, through the children, that there was asbestos in the building.
I believe that that's in the packet that goes out.
I haven't seen it, and I mean, this isn't a criticism, just an observation, you know?
It's just basically saying that we have asbestos in the building and
Yeah.
it's registered with the state and
Yeah.
it's part of we have a management plan for it.
I got in trouble one year because I didn't change the date on the top of the letter.
Cut
I
and
just made
paste.
copies and sent it out.
Cut and paste. Get you in trouble all the time.
But, no, I just wondering if there's any plan to get rid of the rest of it, or you're just gonna leave it.
Not at the moment.
Okay, let's take a look at Article 2. Everything, you see the process, it's all laid out the same, every article. And this one really is the chunk of the professional staff. I gave an overview, a budget overview last month. And remember, it's upwards of 60 to 75% of our staff is staffing. That's our budget. This is where you're gonna see most of it is in people.
So this is teachers?
Yep. It's
Every staff in the
everybody pretty
building.
much except
No,
for
no.
administrators, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, this is
You will
all
cover
the
'em.
teachers, all
And
the
ed
ed techs.
techs.
So the custodians are in the Andy's budget, you
Right.
just got,
Gotcha.
and cafeteria will take the
Nutrition.
Nutrition.
So cafeteria is not in this?
No.
Okay.
Administrators will either be in central office or in the building, like the main office. And then like the special ed administrator, you'll find in special ed.
Okay.
But this is, the chunk of our business is classroom instruction.
Yeah.
So these are the people that are professional teachers or professional ed techs working in those instructional environments. So it's a big, big piece of what we do.
Okay.
So salaries to paid professionals, if we take a look at the 21-22 budget, there's an increase of 121,869, 12%, and that's teacher salaries for grades pre-K through 8 and specials in summer school. Let me just give you some context. Pre-K through 8 is the grade levels we have. So pre-K is 4-year-olds, and then there's kindergarten, that's 5, and then grades 1 through 8. So we have 10 years of public education in this district before they go off to high school. And specials, to help you with some of the language, is we call them unified arts in a lot of school districts. That's art, that's STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. That's music, that's wellness or gym, and library services, media, where we are right here. So those are our specials classes that kids go to when they're not in their regular classroom with a regular teacher. And then summer school, we run a pretty robust summer school that we started as Standards Recovery about 6 years ago, and it's really grown. And Lori Lodge, who you met earlier here tonight, you'll have a chance to see her when her cost center comes up, did a really nice job last year. We had over 60 students come to summer school last year. Albeit, we also were in that hybrid, that weird school year where kids were coming every other day. We really only saw them in person half the time, and they were on Zoom the other half. That was last year. So this summer really helped with some learning loss. But we learned some things, and having a robust summer school for every child who needs it and wants it seems like the right thing to do. So I do see enacting that summer school is going to be kind of almost a third season. It's a short season, it's 4 weeks, it's Monday through Friday, 4 hours a day, the last 3 weeks of July and the first week of August. And we get a lot of kids that participate, we run a bus, a lot of parents still drop their kids off.
My second grader was annoyed that she didn't go to summer school because she wanted to because of her friends that went said they had so much fun.
What? When I was in
I know.
school, it was because you failed the
I
class.
was waiting for that, Marguerite, I was waiting for that. It's not.
I was like, wait, did they want to go to summer
They
school?
ran, it was like summer camp.
It's a little different.
Wow, okay.
And they actually, I think, at least in the lower grades, said it's summer camp.
That's
And it was kind of
It's
presented to
thematic.
them as
That's
camp.
cool.
It's also part of, isn't it, John, the after-school programs you're doing now is in that same line?
Well,
With extra help for the kids, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure, some of our after-school programming right now is being covered by a federal grant.
Okay.
Where does things like, is special ed covering the after-school programs during the school year?
So there's a bunch of different
Right.
levels. So right now, we have what's called After-School Academy, which are in the K2
Each
wing
cohort,
up to
yeah.
grade 5. That we are covering through a grant. That's to help with any learning loss, just to kind of get everybody pretty much caught up as the school year goes along. Then they also have a program called CASH, which is like after-school help. It's not, it's just Yeah, it's like after-school help.
It's like a
Yeah.
tutorial.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. And that's actually part of our Article 5, which is like extracurricular, co-curricular type activities. And then special education has a line for tutoring. So, and that's specific to special ed kids that have specific IEPs that are asking for after-school
Right.
help. So there's like 3 levels.
Yeah.
Some are like kids that just want to stay after school with their friends, which is cash.
We also have some students with special needs that are, through their IEP, have summer school. So that's part of their plan. They have year-round education.
Yeah.
So is this a raise for our teachers?
What's up?
Is this a raise for our teachers?
You
Or is
mean
this the increase?
The increase? Well, we're in negotiations
Oh, I was gonna
now.
ask that.
So this is a placeholder. The
Okay.
beautiful thing about being in negotiations with the ed techs and the teachers is, once that's settled, we can go back and make any particular change we need to one way or the
Oh,
other.
cool.
But that allows us, instead of having a blank going, I don't know where we are, this is a placeholder for now. It's our best educated guess.
But it's
given
not
the
an
process.
extra teacher. It's not, it's,
No, no.
we had 19 last year, we have 19
Right, no, there's no
now.
additional
Right.
staff. It's
Okay, yeah.
looking at,
We're looking at
forecasting
increasing the salary of our,
in the contract, correct?
Perfect.
Because once that's contract settled, the next 2 budgets, the ink's dry. We know exactly what it's gonna cost us.
So you're on a 3-year
Yeah,
contract.
3-year contract, yeah.
Have your teachers ever been working without a contract?
Not since I've been here.
Good job.
Not since I've been here.
Good job.
So there's 19 teachers?
Others could,
In that
A month or
grade
two.
level.
They did.
Yeah.
Right, all the
The age.
specials, yeah.
sounds
So
like
there
it's
are
going
other
pretty well.
teachers
That's
too.
that's excellent.
It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
There's
right.
only
Once or twice
two,
since I've been
but,
on the board, we've
This is bulk of the teachers.
Okay.
settled like in
And it does
August or
include summer school,
something,
which we
but
didn't have.
September.
in September, yeah.
And that's included in this price?
The summer
It's
school.
gone,
Yeah.
it's gone.
gone well.
We didn't
I have a daughter
have
who's
that.
a
We
teacher,
used
Okay.
So I hear
before.
at one time there were 2 years.
We kind of can only
Together.
grant money for so
Without
many
contract.
things.
Where's
We don't
that?
have it. So,
Where
and
was that?
because we're
In
seeing that we're
Massachusetts.
using this more and more.
You know,
often.
so let's,
With-
we'll just let it be there.
Sure.
We just
Yeah.
look at
But I
it,
mean-
because
Sure.
you
And-
can't
and-
supplant
It's,
budget
I'm very
with
aware of it
grant money. So
because,
if you know you're gonna have
you couldn't
something
blame the
on a
teachers. They
consistent
started
basis,
teaching
like
to the
summer school,
contract.
Then you've got to make it.
And when you teach to the contract,
It's the minimum, yeah.
it is,
think everyone votes
it's
for it.
hurtful for everybody.
You bet.
Yeah.
Nobody wins.
No one wins. And it's very refreshing to hear that you guys are.
Well, the other thing
Right
is,
there.
this is,
Yeah.
I'm glad Joyce brought it up, this is a great opportunity, the school committee knows this, but anytime any of you want to come and visit during the school day, just shoot me an email. It used to be, it was really tough to get visitors in because of COVID, but we're not there anymore.
That's kind
So
of
if
bad
you-
language in school, isn't it? Shoot me an email.
Oh, no. We're on camera here, be careful. Send me an email, and I'll walk you around, and you'll get to see some of the kids, and you'll see what I would have to say, the very trustworthy culture we have in this district.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Again, small school, right? You can make those things happen in a smaller district.
Right.
Not that it doesn't take any effort, it's just you can make it happen in a smaller district where
Right.
people aren't spread out over
Well,
6
not to
communities.
get away from this,
Yeah.
but what is your average class size?
Well, right now, it's pretty low. I'd say if I took all of my classes and I'm adding them up for the 10 years of education, it's probably hovering around 16 to 17 at the most.
Oh, that's
I
pretty
do,
good.
I do have some classes that are over 20, but I also have a couple of classes that are around 11 or 12.
Sure.
And it
Yeah, that's
depends.
incredible.
The other interesting thing about a small school is I could have a big 5th grade and then the grade behind it might be half its size. So
Right.
the idea is to have teachers that are certified in way more than one area, as many grades as they can be certified in, and you move your people with your population because
Yeah.
I might only have 1 3rd grade class.
Right.
But I have 2 4th grades.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're sitting in a healthy spot, average class.
Yeah, oh,
At the moment, and we really try to pay attention to that. And I will also take a moment to give you an editorial on class size. And Patty's here, and she knows. Patty Damaris is one of our most tenured teachers here. I can have a class of 20 kids, and they're just clicking. And I could put 2 or 3 more kids in that classroom, and you know what? Nobody's being disserved. I could have a class of 14 kids, and if I put 1 more in, it feels like 34. Just because of the nature of the class. And it's interesting, if you do this a few years, you start to feel out and you go, oh boy, I don't think I can put another person in that class. And then there's another class where it's like, if I have room, I can, and everything's going pretty well. It's really, really interesting. The smaller you are, the more you get to look at what your class sizes look like.
Do you have a total number of students?
Yeah, Kim,
235.
235 at this school, and another, right now,
Another 84.
84 at the high school, which is going down. We'll get to that in just a moment. So remember, we pay for the high school tuition for our
yeah.
kids that go on beyond us.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, good questions.
I think it's good to note too that because this is a small school, you can look at the culture like that.
Sure.
You can tell if you have kids that are struggling or kids that are behavioral issues or kids that are whatever, that you can group those so that they're in a smaller, so they can get more individual attention. Whereas in a larger school system, sometimes you don't have necessarily the control to fit the culture to the class.
Right.
This is one concern that I've had, and I've talked to the Warrant Finance Committee about it, is 20 years ago, there was 100 more kids in the school than there is now. And I don't think it's reflective of the school. I think it's reflective of what acting is turning into. Do you have a lot of older people coming to town? A lot of people that their kids are grown up. And so now we're gonna relocate. We can work from home. I don't have to do the hustle bustle. I can work everything from home. So I'm, 45 years old or 50 years old. And so you don't have the kids coming into town like there was. And this is one thing the Warrant Finance is trying to deal with, is the age of the community. It's really getting to be an older community. And I believe that when you get an older community, you have to kind of look at things a little different than, But the other problem is they're putting in $1 million homes too, but so. But I'm just saying.
We've seen an increase though, have we not? In the last couple of years, we've gone up.
On
Some.
average, I will tell you, hold on.
I thought it was going to
Pretty
be
much,
but-
for the last 10 years, it's been pretty consistent. I mean, we were going down, we were just above 200 when we started pre-K.
Yep.
And then, since pre-K, like, we've had 235, 226, 232, and this year we're at 235. So consistently, and you see the larger numbers down at the smaller end. I think for a while, I don't want to say that I'm going to go, people weren't having kids for a while, but now they seem like they're having kids. They're, like I said, that end of the building is our larger numbers. And
So you put out some type of ad, or I know you asked like all the parents here, do you know anybody who can go to pre-K?
Right.
Yeah.
Can you
Sure.
inform us of the people? Did you get any numbers yet, or that's not till March or?
that's not till March. We've estimated we get 19. We've consistently 19, 18, 19, 19, 19. So,
For pre-K?
yeah, no, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get 19. We seem to get 19.
I
Well,
always say,
All you have to do is ride around town and you count the swing sets.
but you have
I'm
to
telling
take
you, it
into
works all the time.
The
consideration.
principal did.
That's
She
who's
came to
coming.
my yard because she saw my new swing
Swing
set.
set.
Yeah, she came.
You gotta
And
take into
Carol Ed-
consideration, like Mike,
How long do we have?
when you get the number's gonna go to 20.
He's over there.
It's not just one kid.
But I met 4 new couples that moved to town. Rhode Island and 3 from Massachusetts. They're retired here, they're in their 50s, they're gonna work from home. They have no kids here.
There's a lot of people doing that now.
This is what we've seen happen a lot.
It is.
I was formerly on planning board, and people were coming in, they either wanted mountain views, or waterfront, or access to a lake. And, I mean, I'll even say for myself,
It's not required.
we've been here now 23 years. When we first came up,
But most kids do.
I had brand-new twin granddaughters as well.
And they end up.
3 girls in 15 months. Now, my kids weren't moving up here, so we bought a 6-bedroom house And people would say, I'll never forget, I walked into a little store and this woman said, oh, you bought that house? I said, yeah. We want you on, and I do apologize, we want you on your PTO. That's what I was used to. We had Parent Teachers Organization. I said, I don't have any kids in school.
I'm not filling the house.
Didn't you buy the big? Yes, I did. Because when they come visit, you know, but, you know, and that's what we're seeing though. People are spending money here that they didn't spend before, but not because they have kids. And now looking at that from capital improvement, one thing I've done, looking at this, is this school is prepared the way it was built to go up. You know, on the other end. You are prepared. And I'm sure that's something that you look at all the time to make sure that, you know, if you get the word, we need 8 more classrooms or whatever the number is.
Yeah, but you know, along with that, we looked into that years ago when we were doing what were we doing? They were making us combine, we had to be, anyway, we need a whole new gymnasium, a whole new cafeteria, everything. I can't imagine paying taxes on putting on another building.
Yeah, well, exactly. But, you know, it's,
John, what's the percentage? And I know, maybe this isn't the time, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
Okay.
One thing I've also tried to explain is, and I'll use Sanford, for example. The amount of subsidy, percentage-wise, that the town of Sanford gets compared to the town of Acton is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, sure. I mean, I won't speak for Sanford, but I can speak for, I worked in a district a little bigger than Sanford prior to coming here, and half of the $36 million or $18 million was state subsidy in that particular location. The high school that I ran had an $11 million budget just by itself, and half of that was subsidized.
Because one of the questions that people have been having is...
We're a low receiver here. We don't
compared to
receive...
Shapley, people, because the cost per student over Sanford, they're paying like, I forget now what it is, but it's a ridiculous amount compared to what we have to pay. And I tell them, and just when you told them, that the real reason is because they get a huge amount of subsidy. A few years back, they were getting around 60%. I don't know what it is now.
I don't know about Shapley. It's
well, it's at 57.
Oh, 57 as an SAD? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
So, when people look at the cost of operating the school, you really have to take all that in consideration, I guess is my point. And I try to put that out there as much as I can, but I don't think a lot of people even have any idea that this is how it really works.
Our actual, at the end of this process, we'll also look at revenue. Right now, we're just looking at expenses.
Right.
Kim will report out our exact projected revenue for next year to settle the budget. And that'll be one of the last meetings we have. And that'll answer your state subsidy question.
I think that's very important.
Yeah. We're gonna get a little bump this year as we look forward to, we get some information from the state. But I think your point is, in relation to a lot of communities, what's our state subsidy look like?
Yeah.
A fraction of the other communities is the answer to your question.
One other question. Have you seen a reduction in students because of people going to homeschool?
You know what, we did during COVID, but that's about 100% rebound. I can't think of one that hasn't come back, and that was mostly because the COVID thing scared a lot of parents, and like, I don't want my kid to go remote. I just want to deal with it myself at home, and I can, so I will. But no, I haven't seen it other than that reason.
So the state subsidy for the last budget was go the third year back, it was $270,759. Then in 2021, we got $422,155. Then last year, we got $356,694, decrease of $65,000.
That 400,000 is probably your biggest year you ever
So
got.
I don't know what happened there.
That year, we got free and reduced.
It was a Title I thing.
So we sit
yes,
there, we
that's
sit
right.
on
We
this little
made the
thing.
Title I by like a finger of a student.
Yeah,
It
we
was
had-
just that
It's
much.
free
Minutes
lunch
to-
that gives us.
Right.
It's based on free and reduced lunch.
Demographics.
Yeah.
Just to help, there's a formula where if you're
Over 50%.
right, if you're over 50% of students who qualify for free or reduced lunch, your state subsidy is increased a certain amount on top of what you would get. And that 400,000 year was a year where we
probably
did
just
see.
had 51.
We probably had just enough students to qualify for free and reduced, as a free and reduced district, and we saw that benefit that year. But that has to do with whether parents fill out the paperwork, what the demographics are of the children who are attending school here.
So we're not at 50% this year.
Okay, well, nutrition is a whole new gamut now.
Because
I was gonna say,
free-
we're way
free
off
at the moment.
this now,
Well,
right?
so,
Yes.
yeah, we are, because we're
Let's go on,
hopping into
let's-
revenue.
You want me to bring us back?
Yeah.
I'll bring us back.
Bring
I
it
can
back,
do
sorry,
that. No problem.
I tend to do this
Yeah,
stuff.
there's always a certain point of night where you see me just get agenda driven. We're not there yet, it's only 6:30. All right, so.
This is what happens when you put a certain kid in a small class.
Yeah.
And it can change the complexion of
That's that
the
class size you're talking about?
Yeah.
Dennis's class isn't getting any more students.
There
Is
you
that what you're saying? Yeah, all right.
That's what it's all about.
Dennis, if you don't quiet down, you're staying for detention. How's that sound? All right.
Summer
salaries-
school for you.
Salaries paid to education technicians is your next line. You'll see that we had a budget of 96,700. We're moved to 110,700, or an increase of 11,483, and that's for our ed techs.
How many ed techs do you have?
We have four ed techs in this
Yeah, in
group,
this particular group. yeah.
and we also added a cost in there for the summer school to cover the ed techs, so it's like 2,500 for summer school in there for ed techs.
That's why the summer school there. And that's
That's in-
covering a 4-week period.
This
Yes.
is in regular education.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if you take the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And you go down, those next 7 are all dialed into the formulas that we looked at the first budget that we looked at. You following me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take each one. If you have any questions, Kim's here, she's a pro at this. But those are all the fixed costs for retirement, social security, those kinds of things.
Yep.
So you can see where that saves us a little bit of time, because that's all
Yeah.
fixed.
Yep.
This is all that stuff that we had at our Warren Finance meeting, when we we're going over the audit.
Yeah, yeah.
Hallelujah.
And they're talking about MEPs and
Yeah,
PPs. and
yeah, that's what it was.
whatever they are, and I said, all I know is got something to do with retirement, something to do with the town, something to do with the school.
We looked at repair and maintenance in Andy's budget for repair and maintenance of fiscal plant, but every now and then you'll have certain things in a school that needs to be repaired. At $500, it stays flat at $500, and for instance, our pianos, any upgrades in like our music department or a piece of equipment that's instructional, okay? That's not associated with the furnace or the heat, it's an instructional piece of equipment.
So this is for tuning the piano.
Right, so it's 500 for
Right.
keeping our piano tuned. And then we get into some leases that we have, and it looks like it's $6,600. And it's gonna be $6,600, but it looks like I see a percent increase of 100 there, Kim, but I'm reading 66
No,
and
it's
66.
100%.
So it's a new,
Yeah, it went from 32 to
It went from
66.
it went from 32 to 66. No, I'm
It should
going
be
from-
0%.
It should be 0% is my
Should be
point. No, they're the same, yeah. Yeah,
That's
okay.
right. Easy
Glad I
fix.
caught that, okay.
Zero,
Easy
right?
Yeah.
fix.
So we'll make a 0 there.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
time to
that
give you some
belongs
more
in the
money.
next one, that's why.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Okay, yeah, you were thinking
Yeah.
ahead. Transportation for summer school,
Yeah,
which we have a new placeholder of $6,000. Okay?
that covers the buses.
Okay.
And then here's, this next one is our commitment to our high school students. And you go back a few years, but if you just go back, this is based on a pure per pupil count, okay, at a certain price. And that certain price is the year before is state average to educate a high school student. So we always know what the number is going to be. In this case, it's 11,774 per student if you look way over to the right. But we have fewer students at that ticket price, therefore you are looking at about almost a $17,000 savings on that line item.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's just to also just give you a sidebar on that real quick. We are in negotiations with Sanford High School to redo our contract. By rule, we have until June of 2023 to have this done, and we're hoping we can do another 10-year contract with Sanford to continue to take our children, and it's looking pretty good. And these are all the nuances of that contract. That's how we got that 11,774 number. Okay, the next one is travel for this cost center. It was at 8,800 with, okay, so we're down to 2,500 for a decrease of 6,300 for travel and conferences for teachers, and that's because that got moved, Kim.
Yes, it's gonna be
You're gonna
moved
see it
to
again.
Article 6.
We talked about this, so there's a fairly big decrease there, but it's gonna show up in another cost center when we get to it at another meeting. Instructional supplies, 24,008 at 25,004, an increase of $500. The next one is testing at $500. It remains flat at $500. Books and periodicals was 15,400. We're looking at 12,000, or a reduction of 3,400, basically $3,450, 22%. Equipment was 8,060, projecting 6,500, or a savings of $1,560, which is equipment expenses for classroom instruction. NWEA, just in case you ask what that means, that's Northwest Educational Associates, which is our 3 times a year standardized testing for our students for progress monitoring. You're going to see NWEA almost in every school in the state of Maine. It was 3,600 last year, it's 3,600 this year, no increase in that licensure. Dues and fees, $500 across the board, no increase for classroom instruction. Field trips. Field trips come right in, there's just no zero there, it's the same. 15,475 with 15,475, no increase. Field trips for pre-K. And programs and concerts was 28,850. We're looking at a reduction of almost $16,000. School programs, theaters, STEAM and STEM. Now there's your difference right there, is your STEAM and STEM. Last year, the school committee will remember, and for the warrant and finance, we had a change where we had a computer teacher who retired. It was an opportunity, who was an ed tech. It's an opportunity to have our gifted and talented and really, some really creative offerings all packaged into something called science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We did that, and we have a classroom. It's one of our specials. Last year, I asked, and the school committee supported it, to leave $20,000 in the budget as seed money to get that program going, because it was brand new. There's your difference right there in either the changes in the cost of running the program plus backing out that $20,000 we had left over. The reason we could do that last year was we had a full retirement of a person with benefits, which was more than $20,000. But I asked to keep 20 in it to get that program running, and it's up and running now. Moving forward, that'll be just like any other classroom that just needs regular yearly capital expenditures over time, whatever it is that she needs to keep that program running. Overall, we're looking at 4.6%, or 120,196.
Which is basically the cost.
Takes you right back to the first line, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty easy to find the way we do this format. So just quick feedback from the warrant and finance before we adjourn. How's this process look to you, and how does this feel to you? Because we're going to do this with every line in the budget. Some of you are brand new. I'm just wondering, is this
I have nothing to compare it to.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Good answer.
I'm not in pain, though. So. As long as we stay on agenda, I'm not in pain. So I'm fine.
But you gather lots of information on the sidebars.
You do get a lot of.
But it doesn't go productive when you're hangry.
Good point.
It's a
Okay.
I
fine line there.
have to tell you
I
though,
ate before you.
our meetings for budget are so much shorter now than they used to be.
Gotcha.
Much
That makes it go
shorter.
much smoother.
Yeah,
And the
it's really
reason
been
for-
streamlined.
The reason for that is Kim's work on streamlining everything, making it so clear. If you have a question, all you have to do is look over to the right side and see, well, what's this for?
This is an extremely well thought out, presented budget.
Absolutely.
It's very,
I
very
just
nice.
do all the talking. She's the brains.
He's the brains behind it. And by the way,
It's extremely
sometimes
clear.
we have been known to have snacks.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
We've sometimes had snacks at these meetings, so,
Should I bring a chili next
so
time?
if you get hangry, it's more like cookies and
Definitely bring a snack with you if you
Yeah.
want one
Wonder,
next
oh
time.
yeah, bring it, yeah.
We're not formal.
I'm learning all about it.
Excellent. Okay.
The format is extremely easy, and it's what I'm used to seeing. I've worked on different budgets at different places. And Kim, it's phenomenal. It gives it to you right there. You can follow it. It's in here, it's out there, but it's in here.
Yes.
And you can follow it. But I do think, as warrant and finance, the sidebars are equally as important, because then we get questioned about the school. And you know, they throw all kinds of questions
They're free to come here.
at us. But you know, they're also not gonna do that. Or very few will. So I appreciate those sidebars from y'all.
So what
I really do.
is our role in this? Like, not to sound uneducated, like,
Warren-
do we
Warren
say
finance.
yes, no?
There is a time for that. I can give it to you by statute. The way this works is it's the superintendent's budget until it becomes the school committee's budget. Tonight, or prior to tonight, when this book was made up by Kim, it became the school committee's budget.
Okay.
So tonight, the school committee is taking a look at each line item and asking questions, can add, delete, do whatever tonight that we need to do. Warren Finance is here with us so that when it's your turn to take a look at the budget, you'll be well informed. So I'm
Okay.
really psyched you're here because
Okay.
we don't have to backfill everything we just said 3 months from now. So I should have told, so thank you for coming because it's
Yes,
really helpful.
absolutely.
Gotcha.
I mean,
Okay.
at the very end, Margarita, it is.
At the very
Warren
end.
Finance recommends,
Right.
Yeah.
or like the other night,
Yeah,
05, and,
gotcha, okay.
What I will do is I'll present a budget to the school committee and the chair you'll read each article, you'll vote on each article, and the school committee, there's 5 members, and they will either vote in the budget the way it is or make amendments and we will have a budget. And then we'll swap seats, it'll look like tonight. You can come up, look at each article, and you can make a recommendation to the selectmen in the town to accept what the school committee has voted on.
Gotcha.
One way or the other.
Okay.
That gets signed, sealed, delivered to the selectmen within a couple of days. It's like a Tuesday.
Okay.
Then we have warrants, we have a budget, and it goes to the people.
Right.
Yeah, we're still, go ahead.
Oh, do we know yet if it's gonna be a paper ballot?
Yeah, it's, so.
Oh, no,
Jeff-
this one. I
Right.
forgot.
So this last 2 have been paper ballots. And it's something that we should probably decide, but we're moving in that direction just with conversations between, conversations I've had with Jennifer and her with the selectmen and back to me, and I'll tell you why. Our last one that we had in the gym, we had 183 people. I know people say, 20 people show up. The reality is, the last one we had in the gym, we had
That was
183
because of
people.
the fire
Because I
department.
counted them. I counted the people. There's 183 people in that gym. Yeah.
But the reason for that was that the fire department
Yeah.
also had an article
For an ambulance or something, right?
that was on there, so
Yeah.
that brought
A lot of people in.
a lot more people.
Sure.
Traditionally, our school town meetings
40,
have
50?
been really poorly
not a big
attended. People,
It
and
is.
people don't really understand what the budget is, they just see this big number and they have no idea what it is. So by having a night where people can come, which we will have either way, question and answer night where we present it as a workshop or as a presentation to the town. And Kim makes a wonderful budget booklet that goes out, placed all around, or placed around where people can pick up, and they have everything in it. They have all the stuff in it, along with the warrant articles, I believe, too. So people can get really well-informed if they want to. But what we have found is that since the times that we've gone to the written ballot, a lot more people
It's almost triple.
vote on the
100,
budget.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you have 40 or 50 people in the gymnasium
Raising their hand.
raising their hand and voting on like a $5 million budget, those people are actually deciding for everybody else in town what the school's gonna get. But by going to a written ballot, we've had,
At over 400.
yeah, we've had much
So-
more.
Judy's giving you 10, I was gonna say we had 187, but by going to written ballot, we more than doubled that was gonna be my comment. Listening to Judy, it sounds like you have 10 times more. I was gonna say double sounded pretty good, but in hearing Judy's story, it
it's
sounds more
definitely
like
more. Yeah,
10
that
times
was-
more the people. That gives you more constituency voting on 2/3 of the entire revenue, not revenue, but expenses for the town.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah,
It
and,
all depends on what people want. I mean, they want fire department, whatever, so they all showed up for that. I mean, it all depends on what's on the agenda.
And it will also, the turnout might also depend on if there are other articles
Yeah,
besides the school articles. If the selectmen decide to put additional articles on our town meeting, on our voting day, then that will depend on the turnout as well.
They have, I was on the school wasn't a secret ballot.
was going to.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it's moving, but I'm gonna make a recommendation to the board that at some point, we don't have to do it tonight, but we have to agree on what that's gonna look like, so Jennifer knows exactly what the board wants for this budget, because it's separate to the town.
Time is running out.
And what we can do is, we are still in session. We can add it to, and you can discuss and vote tonight if you want to in regards to whether that be secret ballot or town meeting. Because that's not my call, but I'm just telling you what the conversation has been. So it's up to you whether you want to take that next month or whether you want to do something tonight. We can do it after we get out of executive session. We've got a few things to hammer out, but you're still a school committee tonight. You can add it to the agenda.
But next month is March.
Well, you're planning on having your meeting in April, right?
Right, but Jennifer also has a deadline by which she needs all the language for the warrant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So
a lot to do with
it could be business tonight. I mean, I'm looking around going, I don't see a lot of surprises on the school committee's face when it comes to secret ballot versus town meeting. We will still have those opportunities to talk about the budget in public in the gym. That doesn't go away.
We'll have a public hearing.
A public hearing, but it's not the night that happens with the vote with the yellow or the red card. You know, that'll go back to the voting
And
booth.
even if you have, all you have to do is someone makes a motion for a secret ballot.
I know, but there's still only 50
But then you
people in the
still
hall.
gotta get-
Well, I know, but, you have, and when we do the other budget,
Been there,
if we have
done that,
50
right?
people, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, wow, 50 people here. I mean, it's,
Well, I think we should put it on a paper ballot, town hall. We vote that way. That's my opinion.
I agree.
We get a lot
It's-
more people.
It's
I
so
mean,
much
Even if it's
easier.
only 50, that's right.
I think you might want to make a motion to put on tonight's agenda a vote on paper ballot versus town meeting for the FY '23 budget, and then take a vote on that and open it for
I mean, I
discussion.
don't know whether the others want to do that or not.
You want to do it tonight, or you want to try to do it next month?
No, I
But
think
when
that's...
You could do
Jen
that.
has to have, she's got to print that
you're
stuff.
gonna
by
run out
what?
of time.
It's easier for people to have from
Yes,
8
all
in the
day.
morning, 8 at
45 days.
night,
yeah, I think it's 45 days.
for absentee
versus
ballot.
7 to 8
No,
at
I'm not
night.
talking about that.
Yeah,
I'm
right,
talking
it's like,
about-
Well, that's
yeah,
what
it's
you
either
have to
dinner
have.
time for my
I know
kids or
people
bedtime
taking
for my
out papers,
kids.
whatever
And I think
elections
we
coming
can
up.
Well, that's all in June.
Childcare.
So is that the end of
but
That's
still,
different.
it's either
Yeah,
dinner
but
time
we'll
or
have a
bedtime.
public meeting, so people
Oh,
can
yeah,
ask
okay.
questions.
The
New business.
So there's no reason to...
We don't have to be-
We're all in agreement on this?
Okay,
correct?
just want to make sure.
This is almost over. Yeah.
Jeanette has made a motion that we request a secret ballot or, paper ballot at the town hall
June.
for our school, for our school
At the-
budget.
It's usually
At
not.
the-
No, it won't work, it won't work, it's gotta be in April, because.
It's in April.
I can make a recommendation. You don't even need to get into the when, just the
Right.
what.
Just what?
So you're recommending that it be a secret ballot for a
Paper ballot, I don't like
paper ballot?
secrets.
A paper ballot
Yeah, I agree with you. And
Paper ballot.
for the voting of,
Raising your hand.
for the voting of the FY
Really is a secret ballot.
'23 Acton school
It
budget.
is a secret
Yep, I'll
ballot.
second.
That's Mary's motion,
Yeah?
No, Jeanette's
Jeanette's
motion.
Jeanette.
motion, and
Jeanette
Mary
first,
seconded.
and Mary
one
is
N.
second, and now you can take, yeah.
Any further discussion on that?
No, like I was saying, the voting is from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. I think it accommodates more people, that's why you get more
Oh,
votes,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
versus a 7 to 8 meeting at night trying to reach.
Agreed.
People trying to put kids to bed, nobody wants to come.
And since we're going to present all of our material to the community anyway, through the budget process and through a public meeting, explaining the budget, answering any questions about the budget, people that really have any questions about it would be able to come and find out
Yeah.
then, so. All right, any other discussion on it? If not, all those in favor? 5-0.
5-0, all right, I got it, I'll put it in the
Got that?
minutes. Yeah, good,
Okay.
that was a good thing to do tonight, thank you.
I have one last question. What is the deadline for the negotiations between the teachers and?
There's no deadline.
There is no deadline, really. No.
So you guys,
You try to get it done by July 31st, because the new contract's August 1st.
Yeah, because after that, then you gotta deal with retroactive wages, et cetera, et cetera. Please don't make my life miserable.
She's trying to retire here.
How much longer do you have?
It's a process that starts like this.
February.
We're out here when we start. The groups, the school committee and the two associations are pretty close. I'm feeling pretty good that there's not a lot of small things to deal with
So
anymore.
if you don't, you go on last.
You do, you stay in last year's contract.
You
is
stay
the
on
rule.
last year's
Yep,
contract,
until settled.
and then
Retroactive.
this lovely lady says, I wish I had quit sooner. Because she does not want to play backwards, right?
No.
Okay, I think that includes our budget part for tonight. And thank you so much, Warrant and Finance Committee, for coming and for your questions and your participation. We really appreciate it very much. It always makes us happy when we have members of the Warrant and Finance Committee at our meeting going
Yeah,
over
thank you for
this,
coming tonight.
because
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Thanks for answering my questions, too.
If you
It
get,
helps
if you
me
get
learn.
one, if you get one person, I think sometimes last year Dennis might have been the only one here for some of those meetings. And all the rest of the board, the next time they come, well, what about this? Well, we've already answered it at the first meeting.
Right.
So it's a lot of rehashing that you really save us a lot when you do that.
Yeah.
So, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question. In the
Joe,
future,
yeah.
as
Yep.
far as the student capacity of this structure of the building, how many years ahead, or is it till possibly putting an addition on, or going to trailers, or whatever?
Totally depend on our population of our students, Joe, and the way we could figure that out is by looking at our youngest population. If we had, all of a sudden, we had a pre-K that required us to hire another teacher, and we had more pre-K students, the nice thing about having your early children in here, you can pretty much be sure that plus or minus 3 to 4% of them are going to be here for 10 years. That's when you start marking and saying, okay, I just doubled my size of my pre-K. I've just doubled the size of my K. You can forecast what it's going to look like in this building over the next 6 to 8 years.
So how many more kids can you put in here? You had what, 200?
We can do, well, we've had 100 without pre-K. We have room to, they've done 100. I'd say you could probably comfortably fit at least 60 more students in here without making a lot of changes.
60 right now.
Without making a lot of changes. And the reason this is, I know this because Andy and I measured the whole building because our plan was to open school with 3 feet distance between each kid because of COVID. We didn't have to do that. That was the mandate last June. We came back with everybody needed to be 3 feet apart. So we were moving teachers that had rooms into closets and making everything a classroom. And then we didn't have to do the 3 feet. So we know we can add students in the physical footprint we have now because we have the space.
So, but I mean, that's something to be thinking about in the future at some point as this town transitions into more of a suburban town as opposed to a little farm town. That, you know, it's, you'll know years ahead of time for the most part.
We will.
Yeah.
We will.
'Cause I think my kids, both of them, they were in trailers at one point. That
They had the
Yeah.
portables?
Yeah, well, it was just an inconvenience, and then they put the addition on, and
Yep.
then, you know, it's just something it's just part of,
Your kids were here with my kids.
yeah,
Yeah.
part of a growing community, so.
You know, one thing is, being somebody who's never had a child in this school, when COVID started, and I mean, who believes we're going into our 3rd year? I think that you would be commended. You had 6 or 7 weeks to, okay, do something about it. And you did. And I think you should all be commended because.
He actually had like 3 days.
Yeah, you had 3 days.
We had
Friday, Saturday,
we had a
Sunday.
weekend.
Oh, you had a
We had a
weekend.
weekend.
I mean, because to me it was like COVID. Oh my God, what about the school?
It was,
And
it
you
was
did it.
amazing. It was
pretty
really
interesting.
amazing
Never
what
do that
this-
again in my career.
It was really
Yeah.
amazing what this staff did at
Yeah.
the school.
Well, I think you ought
because
to
from
be,
Friday
you know-
until Monday, they were all in here on Monday, and by Tuesday, they were distributing packets and lunches and things
Well, I think
around.
it'd be,
was amazing.
whether it's, you know, I was thinking like you had 6 weeks, but 6 weeks or 3 days.
3 days.
You are to be commended for that.
Thank you for recognizing that of the staff and
You know,
kids.
and
It's a resilient
really,
bunch.
You know,
That's hypnotizing.
and I know it's not easy. I
But it was like
know, as
some
I
weird
say.
kombucha.
Just for the record, I've been quiet quite a while.
We need
We're so proud.
Meeting is over.
Isn't on me.
The meeting's over, Dennis. It's over,
Okay, I'm
Dennis.
gonna,
Everybody's hungry.
That's it.
I'm gonna look for a motion to go into executive session.
Okay.
So moved.